So as the Xbox One generation comes to a close and dawn of the Xbox Series generation nears closer, I've decided to reflect on my top 10 games of the Xbox One generation that I have played, and I'm doing it right now. Hey squad, Sykes here, and thank you for taking the time out to click on this video. If you enjoy what you see, then please consider leaving a like, heading over to Installation X and subscribing, and hitting that bell for notifications for more Xbox content. So, finally, these are my top 10 games of the Xbox One generation. Number 10, Halo 5 Guardians. Potentially the most controversial of my picks comes in at number 10 with Halo 5 Guardians. Halo 5 arrived in late 2015 from 343 Industries with high expectations from fans and the gaming world to help get the Xbox One back on track after a rocky start. Halo 5 brought a new approach that divided opinion, leaning away from the traditional Halo formula and into the more advanced movement mechanics of modern shooters. However, it brought with it an awesome sandbox of weapons and vehicle variants, making it my favourite Halo sandbox to date, and by far the Halo 5 multiplayer I have spent the most time in, and not just because the wait for Halo Infinite has been so long. Forge mode got a complete overhaul and is by far the best in the series to date. There was a major misstep with by far in my view the worst campaign in the series, which holds Halo 5 from being further up my list. Maybe not on many people's top 10 list, but I can't overlook how much I've enjoyed playing this game over the past 5 years on my Xbox One. Number 9, Sunset Overdrive. An early arrival on the Xbox One, Sunset Overdrive was a second-party exclusive released in 2014 developed by Insomniac before they were acquired by Sony. Sunset Overdrive arrived on the scene with a bang, and with its outlandish, brash art style, over-the-top weapon sandbox, incredibly fluid movement mechanics, and genuinely laugh-out-loud comedic writing. Sunset Overdrive has a brilliantly crafted open world that acts as a free-flowing playground for all sorts of incredible moments with a great cast of characters and selection of ridiculously creative weapons. A multiplayer mode was kinda latched on, but the true greatness of this game is in the ease of the traversal and movement around the open world. One of the issues with Sunset Overdrive is the lack of a new game plus mode or the ability to replay the game from start to finish, instead having to play through individual missions in a stop-start motion. One of the great missteps for me about Sunset Overdrive is that we never got a sequel, and we probably never will, as this game fully deserves it. Still, Sunset Overdrive is a standout for me from this generation. Number 8, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. As a long-time Assassin's Creed fan, I was incredibly excited when Odyssey was announced and that the franchise would be embracing its supernatural side by going back to ancient Greece. Odyssey released in 2018 from Ubisoft, and it brought with it the biggest Assassin's Creed game to date. Odyssey's massive open world was coupled with an epic tale of a fractured family looking to be united or implode forever depending on player choice. The options for player to choose from is one of Odyssey's greatest strengths, with so much variety, from choosing between Cassandra or Alexios as your main character, making major decisions in the narrative, to a whole host of side quest content. Odyssey also brings back the vast sprawling open world and ship combat of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, but takes it even further than before. Odyssey is also not afraid to embrace mythology of ancient Greece and takes that to the next level with the Fate of Atlantis DLC, which is an absolute blast. Sometimes things can drag out a little bit too long, especially when you include side quests, but the enhancement of player abilities and the new large-scale battles show Assassin's Creed fully evolving to an RPG, and, in my opinion, is all the better for it. Number 7, Gears 5. Gears 5 arrived at the end of 2019 and remains the last truly big AAA first-party exclusive released on the Xbox One. Gears 5 shows the Coalition really embracing their role as the heads of the Gears franchise, having previously played it a little safe with Gears 4. Gears 5 remains one of my favourite campaigns of all time, with its incredible character development, specifically of Kate and Del, and with its range of enemy types and weapons. Halo 5 also contains one of the most holy shit moments I've had as a gamer, and it sets the franchise up for big things narratively in Gears 6. I can't overlook just how amazing Gears 5 is visually, and I'm looking forward to playing the game in its optimised version on the Series X, with the new story DLC arriving soon. The Gears 5 multiplayer takes another step in the right direction, with a solid selection of modes and maps for Versus and for Horde mode. The new escape mode brings with it a new multiplayer experience that definitely needs more refining, but Gears 5 definitely puts the Gears franchise in a very strong position moving into the next generation. Number 6. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a sequel to 2015's Ori and the Blind Forest from Moon Studios. Blind Forest was a standout hit for the Xbox One early doors, and the pressure was on for Will of the Wisps to deliver again and more, and boy oh boy did Moon Studios deliver. Arriving early 2020, Will of the Wisps brought with it an incredibly crafted world full of great platforming, challenging puzzles and a heartfelt narrative that pulled on your heartstrings even more than before. The further development of Ori's abilities, more side characters offering a greater range of progression systems, new combat zones and dedicated speedrunning sections created a world with more challenges than previous. I cannot do Will of the Wisps justice enough if I don't mention the incredible soundtrack which peaks to an insane level during Will of the Wisps' amazing boss battles and chase sequences. We'll have to wait and see if we get a third entry depending on the ending of Will of the Wisps in the Ori franchise, but I truly hope we do. Number 5. Doom Eternal. There are good first-person shooters, there are great first-person shooters, and then there's Doom Eternal, released in early 2020. The FPS which has been injected with genetically engineered steroids to make you feel like you're running at 100 miles an hour for 20 hours straight. Doom Eternal is an FPS game that I have never experienced before. The fast pace is set early and it never stops. Doom Eternal brings with it an incredible range of weapons, enemy demons and a whole host of awesome skills and abilities that the game challenges you to master if you are to survive. Doom Eternal contains some masterfully created level design, a great range of collectibles to entice you to explore, and of course a kick-ass heavy metal soundtrack. This is all combined brilliantly with various boss battles and the high-octane non-stop Slayer gates, the specialised arena modes with no respawns. I did try and dabble in the multiplayer side of things, but I couldn't really buy into it, which is why Doom Eternal isn't further up my list, but the campaign was an incredible ride. Number 4. Sea of Thieves. In 2018, Rare released a game that showed the world that they were back to their best, and that game was Sea of Thieves. Now I know that some of you may be thinking, how is Sea of Thieves at number 4? The game did have a rocky start, with a great core experience that was lacking in content and became very dull very quickly. However, with now over 2 years of curating from Rare with consistent free monthly updates, Sea of Thieves has blossomed into a truly great experience unlike any other that you can find on Xbox, or probably any other platform. Sea of Thieves creates a cooperative and competitive experience that can't be matched by many games for me. Having to consistently work together as a crew to become the ultimate pirate has seen me spend hundreds of hours playing with my friends and enjoying the game just like it was my very first time. Rare have created an incredible sandbox world now full of PvP and PvP encounters that gets its pirate hook right into you and never lets you escape. The MMORPG has blossomed into potentially the most raw, fun experience that I have ever had on Xbox, which is why it's placed so far high on my list. I honestly believe that Sea of Thieves is probably the best standout exclusive from Microsoft in this generation. Number 3. Red Dead Redemption 2. A game 8 years in the making after the first game released back in 2010, Red Dead Redemption 2 was the opportunity for Rockstar to again demonstrate their brilliance beyond the GTA franchise, and they did not disappoint. The arrival of Red Dead Redemption 2 in the late 2018 brought one of the best looking games of this generation with a masterfully crafted open world of the American West, which acted as the backdrop for the story of the rise of the Van der Linde gang and ultimately their fall. The campaign of Red Dead Redemption 2 brought with it some of the best voice and motion capture acting from this generation, with incredible performances that had us rooting for this band of outlaws and had us crying out for some of their downfalls. A brilliantly crafted story showing how over time even the strongest of bonds can be broken between a group that call themselves a family. The story of Arthur Morgan is one that will stand out for years to come, and the fates of many major characters are brilliantly woven together throughout the game's story. Add to that the amazing variety of side content and challenges, and you have yourselves a remarkably immersive open world. I never really got into Red Dead Online, but I appreciate its craft all the same, even though many feel it doesn't quite reach the dizzy heights of GTA Online. But Red Dead Redemption 2 had me on my feet clapping even as the only one in the room when the game's epilogue came to a close. Number 2. Hellblade Sen Was Sacrifice. There are games that stick in your memory for many years, and then there are experiences that you will never forget. Hellblade Sen Was Sacrifice is one such unique experience that I will never forget playing. Ninja Theory originally released Hellblade on the PS4, but it grabbed the attention of the gaming world so much that Microsoft went and acquired Ninja Theory outright and brought them into the first-party studios for Xbox. Hellblade is truly an experience like no other I've encountered in video games, and even now I still really can't put my finger on why. Ninja Theory tackles such a difficult topic in mental health and psychosis and bring it to life with some of the most amazing game design I've ever played. From striking visuals, bright light puzzles to the voices of the sirens in Senwa's head, this game leaves an impression on you and it lasts for a very long time after you've put your controller down and you've stopped playing. This all plays out with Nordic mythology as the backdrop, which plays into the mysticism of Senwa's mind, which challenges you as a player to try and distinguish between what is reality and what is perception. Not to mention the incredible acting of Melina Jurgens, the actress who brings Senwa to life, and the amazing soundtrack that adds to the atmosphere throughout the game. Hopefully Hellblade 2 Senwa's Saga will build upon the hack and slash combat and take Senwa to the next level when it releases on the next gen Xbox console in the future. Number 1. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Finally, my number 1 game of the Xbox generation is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I remember vividly getting this game after finishing my final exam at university, arrived home, put the disc in and didn't look back for the next 2 weeks. The Witcher 3 is a truly special game. A game that got me immersed into its world, its characters, its politics and most importantly its decision making, which set the tone for many games that came after it. The Witcher 3 got player choice to genuinely affect the world like no other game that I have played has since. In the shoes of Geralt, who was brilliantly acted by Doug Cockle, you genuinely feel like anything is possible. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the downright weird and unexpected. CD Projekt Red released this Witcher 3 in May 2015, hoping to put Geralt and The Witcher 3 on the map for console players, considering the series had been made for PC and imported over to consoles in the past. Geralt arrived and made a huge impact with an epic globe-trotting campaign that some may argue lasted too long. Geralt, along with Yennefer, Triss, Ciri, Dandelion, Zoltan and others are standout characters for any video game. The Witcher 3 really shines with its writing and character dialogue that takes immersion to a whole other level. That's combined with the variety of side quests that aren't just there to fill time, they are meaningful and have been expertly crafted, so much so that side quests with secondary characters is some of the best content in the game. At close to 150 hours of content, The Witcher 3 also represents some of the best value for money in gaming, not to mention the Blood and Wine expansion that is essentially a whole entire game in itself, released as DLC. Coupled with an athletic style of combat, a diverse range of weapons and armor sets, an insanely deep crafting and mutation system, monster hunts, treasure quests and more, you have one of the greatest RPGs of all time. The Witcher 3 truly is a remarkable game, and even though with its crazy length I would need to find a lot of time to play it again, I would, because it is that amazing. Well squad, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please make sure you leave a like, you head over to InstallationX and subscribe, and you hit that bell for notifications for more Xbox content. If you have your own top 10 Xbox One games list from this generation, or a different top 10 games list from your different platforms, then please let me know in the comment section. Remember, it's all subjective and you may have played games that I haven't, so it's all good if we have different lists or preferences. As always, I'm Sykes, and for more Xbox content, stay tuned to InstallationX. Bye guys.